Hi guys, Matt here from 40K Radio, and today I'm going to show you how I batch painted a bunch of Legions Imperialis bases. So what we have here is a bunch of bases from the starter set, as well as some of the flying bases for your Aeronautica Imperialis planes to bring them into Legions Imperialis. So I just blue tacked as many bases as I could to the back of a cardboard box and gave them a nice spray of Mechanica Standard Gray. And the first step is just giving them a dry brush of Administratum Gray, a slightly lighter gray, to help to start to bring out those different panels and give some texture to the base as well. So once that's done, I'm just going to do the exact same thing, but now I'm going to do it with Ulathan Gray. And this is really going to help make those bases pop a little bit more. Again, when I'm doing this, I'm not just dry brushing. I'm trying to focusing on the edges, getting a line around the edge of the base, and also doing some stippling, some swirling of the brush in the base. And that's just building up different spots of paint, which gives a little bit of texture, which is going to help later on when we do washes on these bases. So I was able to get a good number of bases onto the back of the box here. I think this is about 32, and then the flying bases. So, more than enough to do the Legion Infantry in the box. And I did this again afterwards to finish up the bases in the starter box. And this whole process took probably about 2 hours beginning to end, but that also includes drying time and, taking some breaks, cleaning brushes. So it is fairly quick. And now I have all the bases that I need. Right, so you can see I'm hitting the edges of those panels and also around the edge of the base. And there's lots of great examples of people doing bases out there. Games Workshop did their own video. I've seen pictures of people doing marble bases, and it really just kind of do whatever you want here. I think this technique is probably how I would do it no matter what base color I was trying to do. But I just decided to go for a more generic kind of gray with some colors to break it up, which we'll see later. But I figured this would be a good match on just about any city ruins table, and should work well with the Civitas Imperialis tiles that got released with the game as well. So now we're going to break up the color on these bases a little bit rather than just having them solid gray. So what this is, I've taken Wraithbone. I have it pretty well thinned down so I can kind of get these areas and just, one pass, get a good cover over it. But I'm just randomly picking areas on the different base styles to paint with this Wraithbone color. I'm not going to do this to every base. I'm not going to do it to the same spot on similar bases either. And you could use any color for this. I just decided to go for more of a, sandstone-ish kind of lighter stone look. But I do think that the way these bases are styled, it really does benefit you to have a secondary color to help break up the base without drawing too much from the miniatures that are going to be on the base. But it makes them a little more visually interesting. And the bases do actually have quite a few details on them. I'm going to paint those in a moment, but there's 5 different styles of base in the box set, and you do get a various number of each of those bases. Unfortunately, the flying bases do only come 4 to a set. So if you're looking to have a lot of Thunderhawks or fighters, Lightnings, the Xiphon Interceptors, or Thunderbolts in your game, you're probably going to need to get a few sets, or, I'm sure there's going to be some other ones available out there. But those are the 4 bases that you get in one set, and they do come with clear plastic flying stands as well, and those fit right into the ball sockets on the bottom of the Aeronautica Imperialis plane. So, of course, perfect match coming from Games Workshop for the bases. It'll be interesting to see if they do different designs in the future for the bases as well. I think that could really benefit them. But some of the bases do have a part of an Imperial Aquila on them, which is what I'm painting now. And I'm just painting that with some Retributor Gold. Again, helps break up the base, and you know, it's the Aquila, right? So I figured gold would be a good color for that. That is the style of base that I got the least of in the box. I don't know if they're random or if they're pre-packaged with certain bases, but you know, if you cracked open your Legions Imperialis, let me know how many of these bases you got. I'm just curious. So there's only 4 here, so I'm just speeding this up, right? So we can just get past this. But you know, a couple coats of gold, and also kind of fixing up around the edges where I may have accidentally painted the gray over the gray, but pretty quick there. Now, there are quite a lot of metallic bits on these models. There's a lot of look like drains on the bases, and as you can see, the flying bases have sort of what looks like a little couple vents in the middle, right? So the peg goes into one of those vents for the plane, and then the other is just like a closed off sort of industrial fan kind of thing. So what I'm doing now is I'm painting all those with just a dark silver color, dark metallic color, you know, bolt gun metal or whatever the equivalent is now. Whatever you use when you're going to paint, you know, your metallics, this is just what you use here. A lot of the bases do have those little drains. There's also, I guess, you know, what could be considered rivets on some of the sections of the road here, but it's up to you what you want to paint. I went around and I picked out all the drains. Some of them are on the edge. There's some bases that have them right in the middle, and then also those fans on the flying bases as well. Now, so once all the base colors are down, this is sort of the we'll call it fun part, but we're gonna dirty these up really nice. So what I did is I just have some Agrax Earthshade straight out of the pot, and what I'm doing, this is something I've done when I've painted street bases, is I lather a whole bunch of it on there, and I'm trying to, you know, make sure I fill in the cracks in the base, and there's some of the bases do have cracks in like the middle of the panel, so I'm trying to make sure I fill those in. But I just load the base up with a whole bunch of this Agrax Earthshade, and I just leave it alone for, you know, 20, 30, however many seconds I feel like leaving it alone, to sort of like let that start to dry. And then what you'll see what I'm going to do in a second is I'm just going to take a piece of paper towel and just start dabbing at the bases, right? So I'm not wiping the ink off. I'm picking up the ink in just sort of random spots on the base. And I'm going to do this to each and every base on here. I may go back and do some more ink and, you know, pick some more up, but I'm going to do this to every base, and then the metallic parts as well as the Aquila will also just get a straight brown Agrax Earthshade wash, and just, you know, if I won't dab that off. And I also did do a black wash on the metallics as well before I did the brown wash, just to sort of, that's just sort of the standard way I paint metallics. But I'm going to do this to each and every base, and after the jump you'll see how that looks. So I'm just filling a little crack here in the base with some of the paint, but you can kind of see, you know, how the dabbing technique sort of brings out some really good texture on some of the bases, especially in that third row up from the bottom, right? A couple of bases and you can kind of see some nice texture going there. That's a combination of the ink and the stippling with the dry brush as well. So now this is done, we're going to move on to highlighting, and I'm going to give a quick highlight to some of the panels that I painted with the Wraithbone, with just some white with just a touch of Wraithbone in there. I'll do Ulathan Gray on the edges of some of the bases, not going to rim around the entire edge, but just do part of it and maybe some of the panel lines inside. I will highlight the metallics with, you know, just a lighter metallic, a quick little spot on there, and a dry brush on those industrial fans, whatever method you prefer for painting your metallics, and then some Liberator gold over the Retributor gold to sort of make the Aquilas pop a little more too. I also decided on the flying bases to paint on, I guess we'll call it battle damage, right? So maybe it looks like, you know, there's some scorch marks from a stray, you know, laser shot, las shot, or an explosion from a bomb, just to kind of break those up a little, because the smaller bases are going to have the miniatures on them, right? But the larger flying bases, the plane's going to be above them, so the base is going to be much more visible. So yeah, that's pretty much it, right? Once I do the highlights, paint the rim. I chose to paint the rims on these black. You know, some people paint them the same color as the top of their base, but I like the look of the black rim around the base. And here you can kind of see finished examples of each base. So you can see some good texture, right, with the stippling and the dry brushing, and they look visually interesting enough, but not too busy. I hope this video is helpful. I'll see you next time.